our senior distinguished medical practitioner and sports lover, Dr. Akin George. Please come over. He is the moderator for today's event. You are most welcome. It is also my great honor and pleasure to invite the immediate past chairman of the Nigerian Olympic Committee Medical and Scientific Commission, Dr. Amao, to please come to the item. So at this time, it will be good for us to commit our activities to the hand of God. So we'd like to start with opening prayers, and then I'd like to hand over to the moderator for today, Dr. Akin George, to lead us.
Lord, for this great morning. For this seminar. And we pray and welcome you in our midst. All will go well in Jesus' name. We will learn a lot and we will practice what we have learned in Jesus' name. Amen.
Your camera, you know.
I think the next item. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so delighted to be here this morning. Dr. I'm here to be here this morning, representing my president for this occasion, because something that is very important at this point in time. Something that is very important to us as people. Most times when you look around, when you go to festivals, and you find Dr. Akin, they are not here again. What they are trying to make us understand, to make us know, is sports medicine. Something the athletes should know, the coaches should know, and the person as well should know, because there are a lot of mistakes we do here and there, day in, day out, year in, year out, as regards competition and what have you. And I have to thank the organizer because we are going to the National Sports Festival matter of this. And whatever things we are taking away from here will be germane and very, good for us to be in better state. So I welcome you all to Lagos. I encourage you to listen attentively to whatever things they are going to tell us in these 3 weeks. And I wish you well in your preparation.
By the power being conferred on me,
I President of the General Committee in the Abuja,
I declare this seminar
open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's what we stand for.
I'll give you.
Dr. Simon. If I put my laptop there, can you?
I'll give you. Okay, the document is here. I will send to you.
For Samuel.
Hello.
Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, you can start. You can start, Sam.
Is it giving me the hosting right or is projecting from there?
So I'll give you hosting right.
He's giving you the hosting right.
Okay. Okay, just give it to me now. I'm going to share my screen
I'm
from
giving
here.
you. You have gotten the hosting right.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have Dr. Sam.
Can you wait?
Because he's the one who can measure all the the slide saying. We've got Dr. Nigel, introduce yourself also as we start. You have the floor.
Yeah. Do you have my screen there now?
Yeah.
It's free.
Yes.
Yes, it's free.
Okay. Good morning, my senior colleagues there. I can see Dr. George and Dr. Amal and others that I couldn't follow, and everyone. It is my pleasure to be invited by the organizer of this presentation, of this seminar, to share on the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on athletes' preparation towards major games. And when we talk about the major games, we are talking about the Olympics, Commonwealth, and other continental games. Sorry, just for feedback, am I audible?
Very loud.
Okay, thank you. For the purpose of this presentation, I have this following outline. Introduction, COVID-19 symptoms, effect of COVID-19 on athletes' preparation, COVID-19 at major games, and a brief conclusion. I'm sure COVID-19 is what all of us, everybody in town is aware of, the devastation caused by the virus. And as a form of introduction, I said coronavirus disease, which is COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. The pandemic had an unprecedented impact on physical activity and sport, affecting professionals, elite, collegiate, tactical, occupational and recreational athletes. Sport participation was widely curtailed in year 2020 to reduce the viral spread, while tactical and occupational endeavors have required special precautions and modifications. Illness from COVID-19 caused a range of medical complications with potential intermediate and long-term consequences, including residual effect of illness, complicated medical clearance, protocols for return to play or activity, and monitoring for athletes planning to return to play. What we are trying to talk about here in this part of the introduction is we all know the effect of the pandemic. Mainly, it started in 2019, but the global effect started about 2020, which led to the shutdown of so many business places. A lot of sport was closed down, occupations couldn't open, and even when they gradually start opening up, it took a lot of modification of different protocol. Many of us were impacted in one way or the other. We have relations who contacted it. People lost their loved ones in this process. So, and the major problem for us as practitioners was how do we get to clear athletes to return to their sport? How do we get people that are infected back to their activity? How do we monitor them? And different federations, different major games came up with different protocol as a way of getting us to restart sports. We know it's not been easy, though we are not talking so much about it, but it's not as if the pandemic is totally gone as of today. Going further, although the clinical cause of COVID-19 illness varies among athletes, just as it does among non-athletes, on the average, physical fitness appears to mitigate the severity of COVID-19 illness, while physical inactivity is associated with more severe disease and worse outcome. Just like we know in many illnesses, infection or infestation, that when you are physically fit, the younger people, immune system is higher. So a physically fit person will have will most likely have a less severe cause of the disease than somebody who is not fit. I mean, somebody who has, people who are sedentary will likely run a severe cause of this disease, and the outcome may be faster than somebody who has been physically fit. And generally, we know from the infection that older people and those with underlying medical conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, or cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. So if we know a lot of symptomatology of this disease, but generally we know that the most common symptoms is fever, cough, tiredness, loss of taste or smell, which came much later because it's not a disease that everybody understands so well. It took a long period. I mean, the identification, the variants that were coming up, the symptoms that were coming were generally different. And symptoms usually appear 1 to 14 days after exposure of the virus. And we know that anyone can get sick with COVID-19 and become seriously ill or die at any age. So we know that it was not very easy to predict it. And even the common symptoms, we know that it overlaps with other tropical illnesses we are dealing with, ranging from upper respiratory tract infection to the common malaria. We have other symptoms here which is not the crux of the presentation that are stated in the slides. Effect of, we now go ahead to the effect of COVID-19 on athletes' preparation. The first effect, I try to group the effect into two parts. And the first one is the effect on athletes that are infected, that were infected or are affected by the COVID-19. And no matter the degree of symptoms, the athlete's training will be partially or totally disrupted. So if someone either running a very mild cause of the disease, whether we like it or not, it will have an effect on the kind of training the athlete is going through. Of course, as practitioners, medical practitioners, we don't want somebody who is running fever to go on. Of course, if an athlete is feeling malaise, a kind of tiredness or headache, they won't want to go into the field of training. There were time lost for recovery and isolation. So when when an athlete is diagnosed with COVID-19, we know that they go into isolation, treatment, through the recovery period. Definitely during all this time, there will be a whole lot of time that will be lost into the time they are training. And the concept of, I think it's in the next slide, the concept of the training coming to the athlete. So they are not able to keep on with their schedule, with the timetable, the timeline they want for their training, the time to peak and the whole thing will be disrupted. So myocarditis or other myocardial injury may develop without symptoms and can be exacerbated by exercise during recovery, possibly precipitating sudden cardiac arrest. We know that one of the complications from COVID is myocarditis or other injury to the myocardial wall. And as clinicians, part of what we need to be on the alert to watch out is when the athletes need to go back to be able to have checked them properly and know that there's no, they don't have a latent kind of myocardial injury, that exercise will be able to bring up a cardiac event that will lead to a sudden cardiac arrest. Recovery athletes are also susceptible to a number of COVID-related complications, general fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, and coagulopathy. That we are talking about DVT, that's deep vein thrombosis, and pulmonary embolism. So part of our high index of suspicion is to look at that even when athletes, when they are already testing negative for COVID-19, the other complications that we need to look out for, which are all these that we just stated. So in going to talk about return to play, which is usually the main crux of what we as clinicians are looking at, there's no clear-cut evidence-based guidelines for return to play. There's none available to help clinicians, but it is important to note the following factors. Taking the following factors into consideration when our athletes are going to return to play after being infected with COVID-19, the safety of the athlete. The first thing is to know that, just like the other sequelae, the complication we'll talk about in the other slide, we need to be sure that the athlete is safe to go back into sport, that the athlete does not poses another injury risk to him or herself by going back into sport. We need to know that, oh, this athlete is fit enough to be able to do the sport, and not that, oh, we want to hurry the athlete back. we should look at potential risks to the safety of other participants. Part of it is to know that, oh, this athlete can no longer transmit this COVID to other team, or if it's a member of a team sport, that by bringing the athlete in, we don't kind of compromise the safety of others. I mean, to getting them injured. The functional capability of the athletes to also be taken into consideration. That's when we already have a baseline of the athletes. There are some physiological indices that some of these athletes may have that we're able to see. These are the current ones to know how fit they are to return them back. Then the other thing is looking at individualizing the athlete, looking at the functional demands of the athlete sport, because we know that different sports demand different functional ability of the athlete to be able to know that, oh, for this sport or this athlete functional ability, his capability is able to meet up with the sport that the athlete is going to practice. Then the other thing we need to take into consideration is the legal and regulatory requirements. We know that different countries have different regulations for COVID-19. There are tournaments that have different regulations. The Olympic had its own regulations, Commonwealth, and we heard about tennis. Major players were not allowed to participate at major events because of the regulation guiding such tournaments. So as clinicians, we need to be up to date with such requirements and able to guide our athletes as appropriate. So the other part of the effect that we look into is the general effect on athletes' preparation for major games. The first one we look at is an athlete who has been infected with COVID-19, and all the things we've talked about is affecting the athlete as an individual. Then the following, we'll be looking at the general effect on athlete preparation for major games. The general effect on athletes, the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent suspension of competition had a detrimental effect on the mental health of professional football players. That's according to this paper. And we know that this is just an example, but we know that, oh, if we go on the social media during the lockdown, so many athletes were frustrated. We hear a lot of ranting, and a whole lot of them didn't know what was going to happen next. A lot of sports were definitely, all these things that happened there with the lockdown must have had one effect or the other on their mental health of different athletes across the globe. The capacity to achieve high intensity performances such as sprinting and jumping were adversely affected. This was also from a study that by the time you have, okay, no, I think I should go to the next one. Yeah, community lockdown, which was done primarily to prevent virus spread, and the training, because when they are not training, a concept of the training do occur, adversely affected physical fitness. This is according to a paper. Substantial decline in the mean maximum oxygen intake in a post-COVID-19 cohort compared with pre-pandemic controls. So, and from this control by dating JD et al., they found out that the maximum oxygen intake declined from 44.7 to 39.1 in the cohort study they did. And Mujika and Padilla reported a decrease of 4 to 14% on the VO2 max within 4 weeks of training cessation in elite athletes. So we know the importance of VO2 max as practitioners that when an athlete's fitness, I mean the training, it's not, these are not the only parameter that affect, a whole lot of parameters affected: the skill, the agility of players, muscle strength and a lot of things. And we found out that substantially they are increased, they are predisposed to injury as a result of their fitness level declining as a result of not being able to train. We found out that even some federations has to modify a whole lot of things. We found that even the ongoing World Cup, that this is the first time, instead of allowing a maximum of 3 substitutions, I think it started with the European football, they now allow 5 because they believe gradually that they were seeing a whole lot of injury as a result of coming back. Maybe psychologically they are not so prepared and fitness level was not at its optimum in returning back to sport. So we know that this affects the general effects on. Hello, am I on? Hello?
Huh? We can hear you.
Hello.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I was hearing from other. Okay. Other general COVID-19 pandemic issues on athletes. We found out that instead of them being able to go to the training ground as a result of the lockdown, they were made to perform home-based training programs. That maybe, of course, the home-based program are basically not supervised as, oh, the coaches are there, the other support all staff on training ground are there to know, oh, you are having a decline performance, or what was the problem? Some of them couldn't have, they couldn't have access to their trainer, their physiotherapists, their doctors, because they have to do home-based training. And even if they are injured at home, it was not easy to assess all this care. Even when they started coming back, just like if you need to go for any competition, they were repeated PCR testing or the rapid test, as the case may be. Then instead of like a big team sport, you find out that, at least I heard in the Premiership, you find out that some club will invite some group of players for a small training session, small group training session, instead of everybody in training. There are sometimes, it's only the defenders that were invited to come and train together, the midfielders, the attackers, they couldn't come in as a unit. And as a result, you find out that there will be a whole lot of disconnect within these players, which can also increase injury risk and other things. The audience and fans restriction and training and competition training. We know that even when sport was restarted, there were a whole lot of venue. There were a whole lot of venue that restricted fans or audience from coming in, and we know the impact in which fans and audience normally create for or team sport. When you are cheering a competitor on, that can boost a whole lot of morale of the athletes. They lack all this in their competition venue during the restriction. Then travel restriction was another thing which we all experienced, not only in sport. There were a whole lot of restriction from traveling. Some airspaces from different countries were shut down, and even where you need to go, it wasn't an easy experience then. Well, then COVID-19 vaccination is okay, it means to be. Some believe in taking the vaccination, some didn't. The popular one was, I think somewhere in NBA as well as the tennis world, that we know that some athletes believe they will not take vaccination. Some travel and it turned even to court cases. Some country has it as a prerequisite for you to be fully vaccinated before you come in. Nigeria we still have our own in place, that is either you are fully vaccinated once you are 18 and above before coming in, or you do a 2 PCR test before coming in, and a repeat 2 PCR test in coming into Nigeria. Before you go out, there are some other vaccination issues that need to be met, and different countries has this that is still ongoing. And above all, there were a whole lot of loss of revenue. Of course, the general population, a whole lot, different people lost their source of income, revenue were lost. This also affected athletes. I'm sure so many of them couldn't get what they were supposed to get then. Then at the restart of games, there was a concept of biosecurity bubbles in which even when you need to travel, the International Federation make it in a kind of a way that you are able to keep to a lot of protocol to guide again, to keep you in kind of a bubble that people that are not meant to do anything within the competition you are going for, the games, do not interact with you. Even if you have to travel out, even if you have a family member or a relation there, you cannot really get to see them. Even in the stadium, you find out that they are zoned, that you can only go from the airport, or the people that you are going to interact with, they are already screened, like in kind of a bubble. You only meet certain individual to your hotel. From hotel, you only go to training, from training to competition and back. And the same way, everybody you interact with along all this bubble are people that has been screened and found to be negative for COVID-19. It was a whole lot of trouble managing some of these bubbles then, because you find out that if peradventure anybody break out of the bubble, you are usually not allowed to come into the bubble. It's a kind of, you are facing a kind of deportation, you are not able to participate. And I'm sure this didn't go down well with many athletes that faced the bubble. Then the other thing is about the face masks. We know that face masks can be very inconveniencing. There were studies done, there were some competition at the restart that some athletes were almost forced to wear masks to train and for competition, but we know what the hypoxic effect was on so many of them, apart from the decreased performance on their heads and a whole lot of things. But I believe along the line, different federations, different competition were able to manage the face mask issue properly. Yeah, before we run down towards the end of this presentation, it would be good to just share some of the things that were in place during the major games during this pandemic. We know that the Tokyo 2020 Olympics was held in 2021 as a result of this pandemic. Part of the thing that was put in place was to have a COVID licensing officer for all countries. There were a whole lot of trouble that the CLO individual, before you leave your country, they have to send the itinerary. The CLO has to send the itinerary of where, what they call activity plan, where and where you are supposed to be to Tokyo. And Tokyo, in fact, through your flight to where you are supposed to be, the hotel you are supposed to be, who you are supposed to interact with, and all those kind of things ahead. And it was get approval even before traveling. So it was a whole lot of trouble for a whole lot, because if you already scheduled to travel and you miss the travel, it has to be cancelled and another activity plan drawn for you, and you have to follow. Then the testing protocol, the testing were the designated centers, which was pre-approved and with a format in which you have to do at least 2 PCR tests before getting to Tokyo. And in Tokyo, on arrival, there will be testing. There were testing to be done. And they also launched an application called OCHA, in which you have to put on your Bluetooth. It tells everybody who you've been in contact with, and if any of your contacts, peradventure, become positive, they're able to locate you, it will inform you, and you also have to go either into quarantine or isolation, as the case may be. The testing during Tokyo was everyday PCR test. I think saliva was used, so it was not as terrible as the nasopharyngeal that most PCR tests normally require. The Birmingham experience was less because that was this year. There were interactions with different countries. They were not as strict. Sorry, just to for Tokyo, almost everybody was required to wear masks once you are outdoor. Yeah, so back to Birmingham. Birmingham also had COVID license officer. Though the UK did not require people to test, the organizer still advised for everybody to be tested before traveling. And getting to Birmingham, you have to take a PCR test, and before you are able to take your accreditation, and if the testing come positive, they had designated hotel for isolation, which they keep testing until you are deemed fit to join your team. As a result of this, many athletes in Commonwealth miss their competition, and you know the effect of all this. An athlete who has trained so hard to go and compete, and you are positive, you are negative traveling into a country, and you get there and you are positive and you couldn't compete. We know the effect that this can be on the athlete. In conclusion, the inconvenience of the real training regimens, of course, is insignificant when held against a cratering economy and hundreds of thousands across the world that suffer from COVID-19. But the virus and its fallout are bound to take a toll on nearly every athlete's body, infected or not. I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. I think we will have to hold on. So we're all part of hospital COVID-19 events. Yes, we started in China.
Hello, sir. I can't hear anything. Hello?
Yes, it is connected. Hello, enjoy.
Okay, I can hear you.
Embo?
Yeah, I can hear. I can only hear you. But I think Dr. Amo is speaking, but I can't hear him.
Dr. Sam, I hope you are hearing me. Hello?
No. Yes, I'm hearing you guys talking now, but I thought Dr. Mao voice is on the background, but I can't hear you.
I am asking a question.
Okay.
Based on your presentation. My name is Dr. Jeremiah.
Okay.
My concern is the effectiveness of testing an issue with community lockdown. And as you are aware, prior to the Paralympic Games, we had issue of a negative and a positive test on one athlete. Initially, it was a positive, then a negative, and of course, because of the prerequisite for testing positive, there was a community lockdown among the athletes that were supposed to come in contact with this athlete. This means that the athlete has to get to Tokyo late. In fact, he spent 18 hours of flight and he has to compete about 4 hours later. My issue now is, how can we have effective testing such that if an athlete, especially an athlete, is really testing positive, it is positive. We don't see negative, positive, negative, and then we have untold consequence on innocent bystander who happens to come in contact with this athlete, thereby robbing them of 4 years training and preparation to a game. That is number one. And the question two is, as you are aware, sir, the athletes, especially for the sports people, are more physically fit. From your presentation, this means that we are less prone to testing positive to COVID. If so, how then can we restrict community lockdown of athletes that has come in contact with a positive, allegedly positive tested negative athlete, in order not to jeopardize some people's career who innocently come across these people yet are not positive to COVID? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ma. I think I hope you can hear me. Well, I'm not a microbiologist, but I'm sure most of even my senior colleagues that are there will testify, which we all know, the symptomatology of even the COVID as not clear cause as it is. So also were some of the testing. We know that this is a new infection that even to today, of course, more is known about it today than it was. Because I remember when it came in, nobody was talking about losing smell or taste. All those symptoms came in later on. So we are still knowing about it. And even the vaccination, there were some that were believed were more effective than others. Then the variants too, whether some variants were coming in that were not known on time. Because we found out that just like I was talking about Birmingham, which actually affected Nigeria, most people, before everybody left their destination, they expected to have tested negative. But you find out that the hotel, not only Nigeria, so many countries were involved. The isolation hotel was, at times they have close to 40 people there. So they fly in, some of them fly for less than 24 hours, and they get there and the PCR test there, they were tested and they were positive. So maybe microbiologists may be able to explain this, because you have a lot of people, you test them, they are negative. You go and retest, they are positive. I'm not saying, oh, it's not there. So it's possible, that's just my own theory, that some of these variants may not have been sensitive to maybe the first test or along the way. So part of what we try to do, from the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, the advice I know they try to give to the camp is for people to try as much as possible wear their masks. All the hygiene issues that we talked about were one of the things we encourage people to do, as well as the rapid test, which is like a screening test, which was done I think, every 48 hours, so that if anybody was positive, we can kind of isolate and probably possibly quarantine people that they've come in close contact with before those games. I understand the case you talked about that almost didn't go, because I think I remember that the test was done almost every day, and it was just the last 2 days that athlete in question tested a negative, which was the part of the 2 requirements for Tokyo for the athlete to go. So that is the most I can say, but we all know that proper hygiene, wearing face mask was a preventive measure for this droplet infection. Thank you. I don't know if that explained that, or somebody who has a more knowledge of microbiology might still be able to talk about this negative becoming positive. But that's the little I can explain about it. Thank you. Hello.
I can hear you. Hopefully the host can hear you. Well, I can hear you for sure.
Okay, so I don't know whether I've answered the question, so I just find that everywhere is silent. Well, I can't hear anything again.
I was able to hear you, sir, but I don't know the rest, but definitely I was able to hear you.
Now.
Bello Lasora, sir, Director of Lasora Super Academy. You talked about repeated PCR testing. How effective is saliva testing? Why the athletes are in the camp already and having repeated PCR testing? You made mention of testing through saliva. How effective it is?
Oh, okay, thank you. No, I mentioned the saliva testing by talking to what happened in the games, Tokyo Olympics. It was saliva that everybody, athletes and officials, were meant to submit every day for testing. I believe whatever reagent they are using on the PCR test, whatever they were using, they believe they can get maybe enough antigen through the saliva to use it. I just mentioned it that it was more convenient to submit the saliva rather than the nasopharyngeal sample or the oropharyngeal, which at times is not so easy for people with very sensitive gag reflex and other things. So that was just in that, because it was a daily testing. So I imagine doing a nasopharyngeal, oropharyngeal, how uncomfortable it could have been. So I just mentioned that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hold it, the online.
Very much. Okay.
Yes, Sana, he's hearing you. He's hearing you. Yes, off his mic.
For the deputy director.
Dr. Ken, you have the floor. Dr. Ken, they say you have the floor, sir. Professor Ken. Professor Ken, sorry. Yeah,
Good morning, Chairman and distinguished colleagues. Can you hear me, please?
Very loud, sir.
yeah.
Very loud.
Can you hear me?
They are hearing you. They are hearing
Very
you.
loud.
Very loud. They are hearing you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me apologize that I'm unable to use my laptop. Yes. I'm not able to use my laptop. The weather condition in Port Harcourt is very poor this morning. So I've asked Debbie to upload my presentation out there so that I can talk from here. I hope that's okay.
Oh, teacher, hello.
It's already sharing.
No, share it through the Zoom. No, you were like it. You will use this thing now.
Hello, can I continue?
Yes, now it's better now. It will be better than that one. Yeah.
Has it been projected?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Once again, good morning, Chairman and distinguished colleagues. It's a pleasure to be with all of you once again. I have been asked to speak on the IOC consensus statement on dietary supplements and the high performance athlete of 2017. Let me start by reminding everyone this. A high performance athlete is that athlete that participates in sports at the highest level of competition.
I think it's signal. We are not hearing you again, sir. Can you unmute your mic? Can you unmute your mic, sir? I think maybe it's Dr. Ken. He has cut out. He's not there. Network has knocked him. Dr. Ken is logged out online. No, once he connects again, he has complained about his network. Yeah. He said what? online, please be patient. We are trying to get back Dr. Professor Ken back with us. The signal where he is very bad somehow. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We can see you now. We can hear you. Your audio is back. Are you hearing us, sir? Prof, are you hearing us?
Hello.
Okay, sir.
I think. Okay.
Your voice is coming up now.
I think somebody is muting me from that end.
No, nobody is doing that. He has got again. Nobody is touching it. It's the signal that nobody is meeting you from here. Everybody is seeing you. We are waiting for you. We have made you go so that yourself can meet somebody. Very good. Signal is and it's Port Harcourt, right? Ken is having it.
Sorry, good morning, our fellow participants. Those on online, we are sorry to inform you that we are taking the next presenter as Professor Ken is having some technical issues. So once he's able to resolve it, I think we'll get back to him. Sorry about that.
So,
Thank you. So Dr. Aki Amawu will be talking now. Thank you.
Are you hearing us feedback? Online people, can you give us the feedback? Are you hearing us? Online, please give us feedback.
Yes, we are,
Yes.
we are hearing you. We are hearing you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. We are hearing you, sir.
Thank you very much. We sincerely apologize for the people. As soon as the weather improves, we will move on. But in the meantime, so that we don't have
Yes, you can do it.
good morning. Chairman. I hope we promote and protect the integrity of sports and the health of the athletes. This is a very important topic when it comes to sports. Because more than 25 years ago, maybe people who watch look at issue of say doping control or whatever. What is look at performance? But nowadays, we found out that as you look at the performance, you have to look also at some other negative issues which definitely impact sports, which affects the integrity of sports, number one, which at the same time is detrimental to the health of the athletes.
Was I muted?
Yeah, continue, sir.
So, it's on this premise that I'm going to talk. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of but I will make mention of two things that probably you need to know. That because the topic is more on Nigerian athletes and doping sport. That is to let you know that doping is reality. Something like one country mostly doesn't like just more. They actually will sympathize the interest of my athletes because they don't like my country. So, yes, they are employees. So, first slide, please. Can you see? History of doping in sport dates back over 2,000 years ago. Doping in sport is principally the use of prohibited substances and methods for the purpose of athletic performance. What Professor Ken talked about, and I'm sure we'll still talk about it when the issue of nutritional supplements. Okay? There are, because in nutritional supplements, it is just something that you take to improve our health and well-being, vitamins and so on and so forth, minerals and so on. But what we found out, which we talked about, that's why the IOC consensus is the fact that some of the manufacturers of these supplements list some of these supplements with prohibited substances, substances which athletes should take, substances which are only meant to treat illnesses, to treat people that have problems in their health. It's not for the purpose of effective performance. But athletes use them because they found that it can augment their performance. And that's why sometimes here they say that
athletes is about 2 steps ahead of regulatory bodies. Okay? And that is still science. Chemists, the alchemists, physiologists, and so on, who are actually involved in bringing out what we call procedures and processes of training that will assist athletes to improve them. The first 2 things that definitely will help athletes to perform. The pursuit of glory in competitive sport at the expense of adverse health education, personal belief, and national shape has led and it will still lead many athletes to engage in this and ethical practice. We talk about integrity of sports. This one is ethics of sports. I will round up that by putting 2 things on ethics of sport. When you talk about ethics of society, that is societal ethics, family ethics, institutional ethics, ethics is the thing which definitely can actually reject the integrity. Because ethics is based on norms, acceptable norms on how people behave, with others. So many organizations that want ethics and values. Looking for complete ethics. A phenomenon like student parents, individual, person, in terms of its ability to do certain things with its natural talent. We sing the praise and we celebrate top athletes today. The World Cup is going on. Most of us have our what we call heroes and find footballers that want to shine. But many people do not know the intensity of training, the individual diets which most of these footballers have gone through, each that what we call global stage. We only see the performance. We may not see the nitty-gritty of how they perform. Let us sacrifice their players and using their talent. What science says, so many people that the gift of human performance has not been reached, whichever sport. When Kaius run the 100 meters in 9.8 seconds, yes, this is what happened with the boat. Running 100 meters in 9.159 seconds or so, 5 feet. Somebody will come and run it. So the limit of human performance is not. And that's to tell you that human beings are actually built to do possible things. Depends on how you challenge yourself. Because in sport, it's not really physical attributes, psychological attributes, nutritional interest is there. Okay? Those all put together assist in developing the artists. But that's some people who have introduced another element, which is using certain substances which help to achieve. That's very difficult. Looking at the price of the sport. Okay. When people go when you cheat, I was some years back when I was listening to debate on the television. This business debate, business groups come and debate. When some promising young men come, probably come there for days and then do their talk. At one of those sessions, I had when somebody said that in business, to be able to get your business on top of another or another business that's competing, you will not make cheat. That cheating means that you are seeking an advantage by your competitor. You will not be there. But likewise, regulatory body can take action. Because you are not using performance enhancement. If you are using some TV limits or some things that probably are not true, what then I mean for the right. So it's same thing in sports. Next slide. Right, just a picture to see that. Like this, and some of them can take anything that I just perform. And like I said earlier, medicines are produced to take care of some functions in the body, or functions in the body. They are not designed to use. Yes, I did use medication to treat investment now. Get off. What are the presentations for? Which is using the spirit of sport that we talk about. I will let you know what is the spirit of sport. That's how it feels. Next time. These drugs or performance enhancing substances from capsules, injection. People have heard about anabolic steroids. Don't think that around the figure. Anabolic steroids development. Next slide. Look, it's a reality that has gained global prominence. There have been some international concerns because they identified the need to protect athletes committed to drug-free sport and provide them a level playing field in which to compete. That is the spirit of sport. And that's why you see in which category sport. Somebody who was supposed to compete in 25 or 50 kilogram weight category will not be compete somebody who was 75 kilogram. That's why they introduce especially sport that is our sport. Whereas for athletics, running, that may not be there because there's somebody extremely muscular and so on, and somebody in the beach on the inside. And that one on the inside, they even one depending on his composition of his gene, his body makeup, his training programs, and his focus. Which category sporting test the power and strength? It has to be so that you don't match somebody who is 20 kilograms bigger. There are short-term benefits which we see, but these short-term benefits that we have put the art in using sport has many risks. And not to mention that doping is prohibited by most sports organizations. And no matter how we look at it, using performance enhancing drugs is risky business. and a threat to the ethical foundation of sport. The long-term effect of performance enhancing drugs having a rigorous study. I mentioned earlier on that when you look at all these top footballers, top athletes, you watch them, especially the World Cup. They go through so many things. But if one particular footballer in a team is sampled after the match and is found out that he has used the performance enhancing drug, it brings shame to that team, it brings shame to his country, and to his one person who becomes a footballer of US team. We saw this video in 1994 when I participated for the first time in the World Cup against Argentina. And after the match, some of the athletes invested some time there. But Diego Maradona, for which he was taken out of. I agree that his team treated us for it, not use their points. But today, it's very different. If there are multiple positive tests in the team, that team will lose. Whatever the word or good or whatever. We saw it recently in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games, 4x1, 400 meters. When one of the runners in our watches, we found a positive test. And no better than the national award was. That is how one body tries to regulate this, make sure that the same is song to everybody who intends to be and the fact that sport has no place for it. Let's like this. Look, it's ethical. I'm trying to explain what ethics means. What I feel like is unethical. Okay? The spirit of sport, which is the essence of Olympism, talks about the integrity of sport as a human phenomenon, which depends on what? Your natural talents. When developed properly, and it creates a situation whereby the level is created for all identity. When humans compete against one another, either in war, either on sports, the competitors by definition seek to achieve an advantage over the other. Frequently, they use unfair methods or substances to gain upper hand. Furthermore, there have always been individuals with the pursuit of it have transcended normal norms, which means they committed an ethical offense. In sport, such conduct is usually termed cheating and has existed for as long as sport. Maybe one of the future seminars talk about it. Then you know that from what are the ethical implications of doping? All issue of anti-doping is premised on the following principle. Doping is a threat to sport as a social institution. Doping is a threat to the health and the problem for medical ethics. Doping is a threat to young people. Doping is cheating, which in all forms strike and integrity of sport. What we set out to push to the sporting community, and for those of you who manage sport, either as doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, personal physiotherapists, or as an hospital, is that there must be fairness and fair play, which are central elements of sport. Fair play is the spirit of sport and the value of respect and friendship that all people. Cheating is antithesis of the above. It's not just breaking the rules, but it is the ultimate disregard for the written code. Next slide. What are the electrical parenting violations? Because we cannot talk about what are the rules which makes somebody to have violated electrical parenting, and which puts somebody in a situation where he says that he has to integrity or he has cheated. One, this particular rule are set out in the World Anti-Doping Code, which has been produced by the regulatory body, World Regulatory Body Foundation. Number one, presence of a polluted substance or its metabolized or matter in the active cell during the blood. Without testing the urine of blood, there's no way I can know that. So in the regulation, issue, we felt that there's need to see how you can objectively say something. Or subjectively, people have said many times that I think they are from taking thoughts. They are taking it, they are taking their body. Which is what only that objectively through testing. And in testing, right now, that there is competition, that is why you are in competition. You take select you for good testing. Until you are doing for the job. Send to the lab. Or you can do it while you are not competing. That's part of competition. You come wherever you are in your home, then you take, and you can now ask you something. Or you can go for target testing. During training or during competition. You have not come first, second, or third, but you can still be. Because this is information that can tell you that say this guy has been really tested or is likely to be involved in testing. One of our artists felt each of these sometimes another mentioned in the 90s. Those names that are mentioned are those that are not the same. Trying to evolve, what do you call it? Dodge. So one of the international events, she participated in that event. Though she did not come first, second, or third. So usually don't come first, second, or third. But when they started testing, the organizers are allowed to do that. So they pick this individual to protest that you come from no part of what you are trying to tested and then positive test. Then to use or attempted use by an addict of a privileged substance or a privileged method. I'm talking about privileged substance, the methods in which they use to cheat. Not necessarily be that you take drugs by mouth or something, but you can use different methods. Issue of blood doping, taking blood samples from to allow you to train hard for the next 1 month so that your blood is restored to the normal body. Then at the time of the competition, it is a blood transfusion for you. What is the essence of that? Is to increase your red blood cells, which is supposed to be the oxygen carrying capacity. And the more red blood cells you have, the more the oxygen carrying capacity the body has, which means the body can attract oxygen. And endurance sport, endurance effect, you have an advantage over your competitor who are basically take things on their natural. Number three, refusing of failing to submit to sample collection. Even if you are not taking anything, once this is mentioned, no testing, you have to. If you don't, if you wait That's why it's difficult. Then number 4, we are about issues. We are about that. Where every athlete will be, especially the top athletes, the national athletes will be put on national testing register or international testing register. Some of the athletes have been doing better than international testing. So even if they are based in the US and they are here in Nigeria for education, they will have listed where they will be at every point in time. So they can send anybody to test them. They will decide in the US to obtain qualification. So that is the whereabout means where you will be at any given time. The regulatory body function. Number 5, that's 5. Tampering or attempted tampering with any part of the doping control process. There are so many ways people tamper. You have seen it. I've seen it here in Nigeria. That's why I said that athletes sometimes are too respect ahead of the administrators, the coaches, and so forth. After an event here at the National Stadium in the 9th long jump, the individual did very well. But apparently, she knew that she's been pursued from what competition she's doing. So immediately after that, she knew that she likely going to be called and selected for the test because she came first. She took her, this has been going straight down into the changing room. So the doping control officer that is coming from IAA, which is an award that started looking the boy was watching this. We tried to look this everybody. That was the period when one of the most successful chairmen of the television, the chairman has paid award. They started but the doping control officer said she was watching this test and we must provide this individual. Whether by midnight or because she leave the country by around 10:45, she asked for the exam. At the end of the day, somebody else was presented as our doctor. But she doesn't know or she didn't know. You understand? So that's how that athlete very interesting. But this athlete, yeah, after a very Pan-African Games. Again, the rest is history. So, but that individual has tampered with the process. As many examples of 2.6 possession of a prohibited substance or even if they are not taking it, if it's found into your possession, just like marijuana, you're not taking it, but somebody put it in your luggage. When you search to find it there, it's going to be difficult for you to come out here. So, possession or complete trafficking or attempted trafficking in any substance of people traffic in drugs these days, and you know what to do. Marijuana, now quite a number of people say even in sports, trafficking is one of our athletes, the top athletes based in the US, was caught. Victoria Commonwealth Games, Nigeria Charter Airways, and Airways try to take control. So all the US based athletes they got to Victoria in Canada. You know, they passed the luggage through this dog, taking dogs. At that time, they have been, Canada has improved their and to take his luggage. One that has some substances, and you don't call it drugs, some prohibited. It should not be used and it should only be used. So because of that, it's allowing for entry. Same thing that 230 I was the same height that 21. You see that how when it is administration or attempted administration to any active combination of any prohibited substance or method, or administration or attempted administration to any active out of any prohibited methods or any substance that is prohibited out of competition. As I said, we're not going to details about this because looking at what has assumed a big issue. People are writing big visit competition. Volumes and volumes are from different topics of so actually substances which should not be taken during competition. And there are certain substances categorized not to be taken out of competition. So when they test you, if it's out of competition, you are not competing for the test. I'm not going to look for something like stimulants. Somebody is look for anabolic steroids. That's what they do. Then in competition, they will look for things that definitely likely going to be used on the day of the competition to enhance the stimulants and diuretics, so on and so forth. Then 9 is complicity. When somebody is complicit, which means agreement between that they are complicit. We trying to use prohibited substance. Then number 10, prohibited association. People wonder if I'm your friend, I'm not an athlete, but I'm your friend. You're an athlete. But suddenly they find that I have in my possession marijuana, my extension. Because we are friends, you can be have to be, both of their athletes. Okay? And one tested positive and you are still friendly with that. Some high profile looking traditions during competition. Have quite a number of them. We started putting this data together from 1992 up to present, but are just in 1992 on doping for 2 tests that I will participate in athletic federations competition. 5 have been tested positive. Out of about 8 have been that 5. Because those athletes do not expect that. You understand? But one athletics mandated the athletic federation of Nigeria to ensure that they test. So you connect this sample set. Each of them came first or second in that step. And 5 tested positive. Out of the 5, 4 tested positive and anabolic steroids. 1 tested to they protested, yes, normally athletes will protest. But one athlete one said that she was took some native concoction when she was sick. Which do not have the doctor's permission. One said that a young man of 21 at that time said he has no libido. what David said, he has story video. And after when he complained, they recommended that you take this thing and it wasn't available. When you take an apology to the testosterone, which is prohibited, increase the libido. You know that testosterone is body building job. And so on and so forth. Next slide. It's not only important in human athletics. In 2002, 4 athletes tested positive in out of competition. They were in camp preparing for the Commonwealth Games selection, and 4 of them tested positive. That is multiple positive. And for that, Nigeria was disqualified to participate in Commonwealth Games. So when you have multiple test results, multiple positive test results, that federation will be disqualified. Apart from the athletes, the federation will be disqualified. In 2003, they fell into the same shooting. 4 out of those samples, out of consensus requests, were disqualified for participating in the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne. So, that period of time, some athletes who are conformity right of part of statistics when you see your electoral next slide, please. Now, why do athletes take drugs? Some of the reasons why they take us very clear. Some will say, or they believe their opponents are taking drugs. Right? It's a reality there because they believe that their competitors are taking drugs. So in order for them to be able to match them, they will take sometimes it's right, sometimes it's true. That's what Ben Johnson tested positive in 1940, something to an body steroid. He competed with Carlin and others who are actually come back second. When you beat them, the record is set at that time. He said that it would take 50 years for that record to be raised. 9.5%. But he escaped positive test. Next 1 year, so that was 7 between so he did set it in first. Marvelous record for this time around. As a high school by one of the high school athletes called and if you know what kind of punishment is linked out to some of the athletes, especially in competition. Before the camera and everything, he was punched out of the main village, which means you should not be among athletes who have integrity. Because it's the word called like that's cheated. That was almost the end of the careers. Some of our athletes too are falling to that same situation. You tell it one athlete tested positive is treatment. She wanted to go like that to Africa. Tonight, you were born and it goes on. My next is not the following one that athlete to take that. That will take athlete 100 years later. Because you are audited basic principle of integrity in sport. So you believe that then determination to win at all costs. Everybody wants to win. There's nothing wrong for you to have ambition to win in your sport or any ways of life, but then you have to have moral right. Next one is direct or indirect pressure from coaches and their support. How many coaches are here? Yes. You put pressure on your athletes. Yes. You have to do that because performance can only be achieved when tremendous pressure. But it's not pressure that take the artist on the negative side, where you really cannot do something else for that people. That is very important. For every human endeavor has pressure. We put through stress. How we manage this pressure is what. And like popular saying, no gains, no gains. Okay? But definitely not be satisfied with competition. Having gained, that something is not right. So step now. That's what it is. See for the internet. But for them to believe, the coach is putting pressure there. They will take something that yeah, so many drugs around that you won't be quantity. Yes, pain is over. That's very, but she has injured that part of the body more, which after 1 or 2 days. So that is why when you talk about issue of it is for the council and when you are check them for this. And that is the video of this. Next one is lack of access to legal and natural mental health. What are the natural methods? They are there. Balanced nutrition, psychology, proper scientific method. Then nowadays, technology has come into the thing. Proper shoes, proper listening, you have to do the proper training, which can enhance the natural and better. If you don't have that, push at it, go and do it. Crowded competition calendar is another reason. There are so many competitions to party. There are financial reward. We know recently from Commonwealth Games, when the president came to the athlete to one gold, silver, medal, bronze. Financial reward. What to win it? Not is strong from academics, but what to reach. Let's like this. Now, I will now come to the part of the topic. Nigerian athletes in global spotlights. You know some of them is in the public domain. You don't have to hide it. Because if you keep hiding, it's like we are hostages. Okay, then you don't do it traditionally when you say your athlete. Okay. So these are some of the current ones. There are some that happened in the 90s and so on. Different traditional federations will see this. One have been more than 30 athletes in the past 30 years. 4 weeks ago, there was 6 athletes, some of them are this is our this work that that this is considered as sanction and just to reiterate have it lesson of Kakari is one of our top athletes, very, very low. But definitely as athletes we want to unite the ability when you are affected. Look at sort of your body. The mind will say yes, you can do it, but the body why? The last step wasn't tendon, ligaments, down, affected joints. So it's not possible. Lesson is in account when actually she one part of it. Tested in June 2021 in Lagos, positive for EPO, that is erythropoiesis. which is almost like the artificial way of blood doping. Tested in July 2021 in Slovakia during one of their gold races, or what they call it. Tested positive to human growth. So sanctioned 5 years and 130. I think years. But something else happened. She had a punishment doubled 10 years for the refusal to cooperate with investigation. Each case of positive dope test has something like they want to know who and who are involved, how to source this particular medication, so that we can report to NAFDAC or NDLEA so that they can actually target whoever is supplier. Because the essence of anti-doping is not to catch athletes to go. It's for them to volunteer where to get it. Who is their supplier? Okay? If it's an athlete, they will ask the athlete, where do you get it? If it's from the black market, you want to know. Because they want to actually stamp it out. Of course, I'm refusing to cooperate with the investigation. The double the number of years to 10. Oh, what is so funny is that because of additional anti-doping rule violation, that is engaging sample collection and tampering or attempted tampering with doping control process on the 13th of June 2002, before the Olympic Games Tokyo added 1 more year. They don't meet because the regulation is there. But where the athlete has a new case, you can definitely punish that. But she's not banned for 30 years. She can appeal to the Court of Arbitration for sport. But definitely she will reach. Definitely that's the end of our career. Suspension. The ban is qualified. You know, this thing has ramification also on the sports. Athletic Federation of Nigeria and their athletes, because she took part in qualifying media for the Olympics in 2022. The time that the Nigerian quartet returned was qualification time, which put them as qualified to take part in the World Athletic Championship 2023. But because she tested positive during that same time, definitely, like I said before, there is qualifying of this. So Nigerian athletes that is qualified for 25 to 4x4 and 100 relay Oregon World Championship. Even they are disqualified for participating in the last Commonwealth Games, because that qualification from last year qualified Nigeria for those competitions. Imagine that even those who didn't take a permanent assignment because have paid the price. That one chose that the 400-meter sprinter. Just a positive anabolic steroid. Lagos in 2012, National Sport Festival. Received 3-year sanction, which ended in 2015. Returned another positive test with anabolic steroid. Function for 8 years. The second offense carry double, and depending on the circumstance, you can bind it for life. So, Olashade Abugon is a 400-meter athlete. Top positive test at New Delhi 2010 Commonwealth Games for anti-gelling anabolic steroids, testosterone. I think she came second or so. And then she was back for 4 years. But apparently, what is funny is that, you know, for Nigerian contingent, when they go for major games like this, the government promised them that each athlete who won any medal will be cash gift right there, not at home, but there. So she has received her $10,000 in her pocket. So when she was asked that you are positive and the child was done here, return the code. When am I money now? She got on the next flight that she's taking coming to Nigeria, and that's and I had said before, why did it from financial reward? You will say, I 10,000 funding for 2 years. And I tell you one other thing, it's a research done, not in Nigeria at all. That is good. The question was simple. If you know that taking this medication will affect your life, and 5 years after, you need to take it. 90% say no. 90% say they're not sure. Because what's right? Another 30% say they will take it. Even if they will die 2 years after. Why? They have received global attention. They have received volunteer reward. They have received endorsement. 5 years after, desperate situation that is all. Next time. Is V2 on one signature. You turn a positive test for anabolic steroid. Then you turn the second positive test and back the life. The next one is media and entrepreneur. It's called a short coach for champion. She still holds the Nigerian and African records of 18.4 meters short. She failed the drug test in 2009, received 2 years, failed the second test for anabolic steroids shortly before the London Olympic Games. She was given a lifetime. Nobody on her head and stand 400 meters running in the morning. We turn a positive test for stanozolol and its metabolite. 20 received a sanction of 4 years after she's now free to go to support. Turn out with a 200 meters straight drop test in 2019 that will be able to support very well. Next time. China Doris and like long jump 4 years and strip of 2015 gold medal won at 2015 Olympic. One now for showing 100 meters, 200 meters space. One that is supposed to be was strip of gold. Innocent has run the 100 meters straight drop test in 1992, one of the 5. Doing your first 100 meters, testosterone, but at least was a little bit complex because the age that she had polycystic ovary, which definitely can elaborate some of this trouble. But the medical report announced the international body that is the one that eventually this is wrong. What are that cases in next time? Little contaminant point with apart from those ones that mentioned before. Chika Amala was the young weightlifter, said the youngest weightlifter from which Commonwealth Games. Tested positive for diabetes. Cheaper. The abilities, I don't know what 69, 75 tested positive for anabolic steroids. And because of the positive test before I conclude, I said, I want to just read something like a book which I think is summarizing everything that we talked about. He said, what is the way forward? The way forward is to establish what we call Viral National Anti-Doping Program. Viral Anti-Doping Program involves creating avenues where there will be interaction with athletes from the grassroots of the elite level, where we educated on some of these issues, teaching them what we mean by values and ethics, and at the same time letting them know integrity and actually interaction with the community and spread competitive. So these are issues. It's more of education. Education through information, through what we call interaction, like what we have here, or active outreach programs. That is it. Then the next program is testing. If you don't do test, you will miss part of this one. Then after that, hearing and those are programs. But why fight against looking at sport? Because we have an viral when I protect viral, but once you put this in, you try to maintain what we call the true value of sports, which is often referred to as spiritual sport. The ethical pursuit of human excellence through athletes, natural talents. Then to protect the health of them and provide them the opportunity for them to participate in sport without use of particular substance. Then want to maintain integrity of sport, which is respect of the rules of the game, fair competition, right at the playing field, and also want to achieve the value of those sports. The spirit of sport that I do mention is the celebration of human spirit, body, and soul. That is the essence of Olympism, and it's expressed in all the doping is fundamental. They come to life. That we are already done in terms of enough of the legacy that we have but if we finish talking some ideas.
Now that's a you need to be more like
If you are hypertensive patient and drugs, correcting and all that, you're happy. Now,
you are backing us.
that is one.
Yeah.
Secondly, the integrity of the text. Integrity of the text. These laboratories we're talking about, they are not they are very, very specific in job. And most people are very I just want to find out how they've gone with the establishment of First question. TUE. Yeah, TUE is something like therapeutic use exemption. But the second, the other part of drugs are there to treat pregnancy or when you put it into and many problems can happen. Some of these drugs we have they actually consume. There are drugs that but then that habit has that is good. That is the reason. International body or national committee that this is what that like. So then you look at it as a committee. That yes, the reason is justified. We can authorize and get it further so that that happens another part. First of all, he has to protect his health. Competition comes later. You don't have to have an athlete when participating at the club. That is why part of the games of the asthmatic and some athletes who are asthmatic not because they are not asthmatic, I cannot take salbutamol because it's prohibited. It has an alcoholic property. But when you drive that athlete of expressing these are natural talents, it is not that you will be have a breakthrough, but that interest should not be a limit. So such athletes to have applied for that. Then it will be approved once they do the necessary testing and all the same time. And rather than yes, this is and triggered by exercise. So we will be giving an approval. It means that you can use the anti-asthmatic drug while it is complete. But there's a provision there. You can only use Ventolin as inhaler, but not tablets, not injection. Because when you use the tablets or injection, you are actually causing the bother. But Ventolin, inhaler is allowed. You can control that is good. And so many other medications like that. So it's not to say that absolutely athletes should not take on it. I didn't bother to put anything about side classes. I as a doctor, I did not put them. But next question is, we do not have a laboratory. We have a laboratory that tests the athlete sample. It has to be for IEC accredited. But now we have transferred that accreditation of the one anti-doping agency. So what we call steps. Essence of the ability to say what to test for. It's not only to put it up, very expensive. For any year, that we get to know what accreditation. What it means is any result that is coming from so don't give an athlete the name which the athlete does not have. You understand? And such that already damaged